Hello everyone. Today we're going to be doing a very special interview with the owner, or founder rather, of Ionza, Joseph Blessing, who basically pioneered bringing such amazing transformative systems into New Zealand more than 16 years ago. Welcome, Joseph. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, let's begin. So, can you tell us what inspired you to start Ionza? Yeah.
Well, it was in a time when I was working as a psychotherapist in Auckland, and I was relating to Golden Bay as well because I still had my home here, and neighbor friends, they were keen to start a spa in Nelson. And they asked whether we could, because I have had some luck with making some money, and whether we could consider helping them to get that started.
Right.
And so my then partner, we said, yes, we would consider it. And I then actually was keen to understand what's really good water.
Right.
So I volunteered to do some research on that.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and that was highly interesting because it didn't take long, and I noticed some devices that were called water ionizers. And I never heard about any of that. It's something that obviously came from the Asian area. And when I looked into the details of what they do and what they offer, they said something like it's healing springs quality. And I was really amazed. At the same time, I felt like, oh, can I really trust this? Maybe it's a bit of a woo-woo stuff, something that it's maybe a scam or something.
Yeah, very skeptic.
But I was skeptical, that's right. I then went further, checking out more about water and quality, natural water and healing springs and so on. I came across more of those sites from different companies. And by then I thought, well, there can't be a woo-woo or can't be some scam, because these websites look like really sophisticated. And a lot of health claims were so interesting that I thought as a health practitioner, psychotherapist, that this could be really interesting to actually give it a shot, and at least maybe get a machine and try it out on myself and talk to some other people in the industry who, like in the States, there were some companies at the time, to talk to them. And one of the really meaningful things that actually prompted me to indeed buy a machine as a test machine was I talked to a guy called Alkaline in the States. And when I asked him what he has been doing before he started the company, he said, well, I was a psychologist. And I said, there we go.
Yeah.
And then I asked him, so why did you give up your profession and started a water ionizer company? He said, it's quite simple. As a psychologist, I might be able to see 6 people in a day. With my water ionizer company, I can see hundreds of people and offer them alkaline ionized water that calms them down in their nervous system, that changes the pH. By that they are more healthy internally, etc., etc. And so by that I can help so many more people. And that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, it strikes a chord.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So you're kind of inspired by the fact that you can scale the positive impact that you have on people.
Totally.
Yep, I align with that one as well. That's awesome. You had that motivation, but being 16 odd years ago, I imagine there would have been a bit of pushback, a bit of unknown, a lot of education. Like, what did you experience and what kept you going through? Like, why did you, out of everyone, persist? Like, what was it there?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Well, it was definitely a daunting exercise because when we started, I remember being at the first expo in Nelson, actually.
Oh, yeah.
It was a women's expo, women's lifestyle expo.
Oh, yeah.
And we had this stand with our very mediocre graphics of messages, a bit like from the typewriter off, because our budget wasn't very high. And honestly, it was like talking to aliens.
Or people felt like they were talking to aliens.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we actually managed to sell 1 machine on that day, on that weekend, which was amazing for us. At least somebody got it. Encouraging. It was hard. It was tough. But we went from small successes to medium successes and so on, built from there. And the interesting thing that really kept us going, one is because we had those role models in the States and in other countries who have already worked in that field for some years, and in Asia for many decades already, there was lots of testimonials around that we could actually also tap into it.
Yeah, sure.
And also then we got our little testimonials here and there from the new clients we got. And that also was very encouraging.
Yeah, it would have been quite momentous, like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
The more you got out there, the more good feedback you're getting.
And even though it was tough and it was slow, because of having had those feedbacks and those testimonials, it really encouraged us to keep going.
So selecting the right water solution. If you're looking to enjoy healthy drinking water right from the convenience of your kitchen. So maybe, we've got lots of clients, maybe you're sick of bottled water, because I think a lot of people today know that tap water generally is quite unhealthy, but you just don't want to be bringing all that plastic into the world. Maybe you're an athlete looking for peak performance, or you're sick, you've got that niggling kind of, you just can't get to 100%, or maybe you want to get to 120%. So there's lots of reasons why you might be looking into water. And the first step is always filtration. And so firstly, the first step in health is obviously to stop putting toxins into your body. And so every single water source is going to be different, and we'd like to discuss those different water sources, because we all know as water is like the universal solvent. If it's in your environment, it's more than likely going to be in your water. But you don't want to be filtering for every single possible contaminant in your water, because that's going to be really expensive. And so let's start talking about what you might typically find in your town supply water.
Okay. Well, as you already alluded, our bodies are approximately 70 to 80% water, and some of our organs are actually up to 90 and more percent, like the brain, for example. So it's a no-brainer that we actually make sure that our water household is looked after. And particularly no-brainer when we are actually interested in good health. And like you alluded at the beginning of this interview or our engagement, that these days it's not difficult when we look after our health to get to 90 and 100. Still in being in pretty good shape. So going now into the details of how we can actually make our tap water well tasting and also healthy enough to be a good solvent for our body. Being a good hydration for our body. That is not too difficult to do when we know what to do. So let's talk about city water, town water. Now, in town water, we focus on chlorine. That's something that the council puts in. We have got the issue usually of chemicals in the water.
Like the environmental chemicals as
there
well.
There are environmental chemicals in the water, but something also we could say the council has to put some kind of chemicals in the water that are maybe not perceived as chemicals, but they are artificially included. And then we also have issues of sometimes heavy metals, microplastics, etc. So generally what most people do is they have got just a carbon filter under the bench, whatever, with the filter tap, and that's what it usually...
Because the carbon is for the chemicals and the heavy metals.
That's what what usually takes care of. The tastes nice, that's quite an overall good enough filtration, However, if you want to actually be more specific and understand that in our modern age and environmental issues, contamination, etc., we actually have to go a step further. Now, particularly now that we are dealing with microplastics, and also we're dealing with fluoride that is artificially included in the water these days, unfortunately. But hey, we have to face the fact that there is fluoride in the water, and it actually mucks around with our health. Not with everybody so severely, but some people are really sensitive to it. So to get fluoride out, we have got a very specific fluoride filter. Ionza has got one that is actually based on natural media, and it is alumina free, so therefore it doesn't recontaminate the water like some of the fluoride filters that are out there actually are based on alumina.
Yeah, that's all I've been able to find in my product research.
Yeah.
They've all got alumina in
Yeah,
them.
that's right. So basically what they do is they actually put alumina back into the water. Yes, it's a trade. They can say, yes, it takes out fluoride, tick. But actually they don't really share that there is an issue also with recontaminating the water with alumina. Yeah. Yes, you can put a heavy metal filter after the fluoride filter, and it will do something of that, but you still would increase the alumina into the water because you'd never get it full.
And then you're doubling your waste because you've got an extra filter.
That's right, this as well.
Yeah. Rural supply. Now, rural supply can obviously be a range of things. So can you talk specifically about, say, stream and creek?
Yeah.
And move into the other ones?
Well, stream and creek is fraught with contamination of various kinds, particularly bacteria, E. coli, Cryptosporidium, Giardia, any of that kind of thing. And really, I don't want to say you can't make that water good. You can, there's no question. But starting with debris, sediment, we have to get a sediment filter for that. We have to get either a UV system for that, to contain the bacteria, E. coli, etc. And so, yeah, it's possible, but it's just need to be mindful what kind of issues there are.
Yeah, so so if you've got stream, creek, rainwater, your biggest concern or the things you should be testing for is the bacteria.
Yeah.
It's from what I understand, there's always going to be a level of living bacteria in your water, especially in those situations.
Yeah.
But it's the level and the type of bacteria.
You're saying it, how much of any of them?
Yeah.
There are some other issues that are really concerning and more these days, which is nitrate.
Yeah.
Particularly in streams, you have to understand that streams usually are the ones that have got some agricultural runoff. And therefore nitrate from artificial fertilizer and also to some extent from cow paddocks are definitely the contaminants that are increasingly becoming dominant in our water supplies.
Yeah. Now, can you talk a little bit, seems as though we're talking about rural supply, about the tanks and the effects that the tanks can have on the water? Yeah.
So rainwater given from our skies is actually slightly acidic, no minerals in there. So it's pretty good water if it's a bit like distilled water. When it comes straight into the lion's mouth sort of thing, if you open your mouth like that, then it's pretty cleanish water, unless it's been contaminated through clouds that have been built over agriculture areas or industrial areas. But because it doesn't have minerals and and it's slightly acidic, therefore it's something that also needs to be looked at, because long-term drinking acidic water and no minerals is basically something that could cause osteoporosis. The other issue, if we now talk about the real thing about how everybody actually collects tank water, which it means it goes through the gutter.
Yeah.
And the gutter is a collection of all sorts of bugs and muck and stuff that causes a huge flurry of contaminants, starting with bacteria and E. coli, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and so that whole pH discussion around the acidic water is it's a whole nother discussion really, but ideally we have higher alkaline water, and that's easily achieved, and sometimes concrete tanks can bring some minerals into the water.
Absolutely. I mean, plastic tanks are the ones that basically keep the water acidic and no minerals, and concrete tanks buffer the pH, bring it up, and also introduces some minerals like calcium and magnesium.
Yeah, unless they're an old tank.
Sometimes you're right. An old tank, it wouldn't be quite as effective anymore, but still does some of that.
Yeah, pH is an easy thing to test. All right, so what about bore water?
So bore water, in my experience, can be very tricky. It can be amazing and clean, particularly when it comes from an aquifer. Like in Golden Bay, we've got some aquifers that come from Pupu Spring. Amazing quality water. But then other ones are just really full of iron, manganese, and sometimes even arsenic, which is a real toxin. So it really pays. If I would have a bore on my land, I would want to actually test it.
Yeah. properly.
Yeah,
like
properly
with a
tested it
laboratory
by a
test.
laboratory. That's
Yeah.
right. To understand what is in there that might be really dodgy.
Yeah,
And if there's nothing, great.
yeah,
And if there's something and I know what it is, I can actually take care of it.
yeah. If you don't, if you want to know what's in your water, like there's a variety of different. This can be a bit of a hurdle for people, because of the cost. But if you've got town supply, you can almost guarantee you're going to have chemicals, and you can find out from your local council. Your council should actually be able to give you a report.
That's right.
Yeah, I know we've gathered a few for customers that we collect, but they are outdated and your water's always changing. And I think it's really important because obviously you can pick up heavy metals and contamination along the journey. Like it's not just, the council might have good water, but by the time it comes through your kitchen faucet, it's a different liquid. So yeah.
Well, I did a couple of years ago. I did research on the latest levels of nitrates,
Oh yeah.
and so I went onto various council websites and checked out the latest data of their reporting, as in doing water tests. It's all there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can
Cool.
see all the different contaminants in there and the levels and so on.
Excellent. And the pH level,
Yeah,
that'll all be
as
there.
well. Yeah.
And so then with the rural supply, it's not monitored, so you're more or less, it's up to you to get that tested.
That's right.
And you can do DIY type tests, which we have some in the link below. Or especially if you're on bore, you can go to somewhere like Hills Labs. You've used them quite a few times, and that's a really easy process.
In the South Island, there's also Cawthron laboratory in Nelson.
Cool. Okay, so a matter of doing a Google search, but I think water testing is pretty common these days and becoming more and more popular.
It's actually really easy. It's just a matter of calling them up, for example, or on the website. I think these days there's a link where you can then just order a self kit, a self measure, not self measuring. It's a self kind of obtaining kit where you get all the different glasses, jars, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you just follow the instructions and send it off to them, and then they do their bit.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great. Choosing the right filtration system. So let's say we've come to the point, we know what contaminants we want to get rid of or reduce within our water. If we're focusing on filtration, can we speak a little bit to those same sections? So town supply and then rural, but focusing on what types of filters we need to be using in those situations. So we'll start with town supply.
It's an interesting one because it always depends on what you as a customer would like to achieve at home. Because some people say, I don't care about fluoride, maybe because you don't know enough about it, but maybe because you really are so convinced that fluoride is good for you. Therefore, we're not going to go into any dispute about this. Therefore, it depends on what you want to achieve. But if it would be me, for example, looking after my grandchildren in a city or townhouse, in Auckland, whatever, as example, I would want to have a whole house filter.
Yeah.
So all the bathrooms and showers are actually, and all the taps in the house, so my grandchildren can actually drink the water anytime safely. Yeah. And there's no chlorine. It tastes nice because when the water doesn't taste nice, the kids don't like to drink it. Therefore, they are not properly hydrated. And to always drink bottled water is a bit of a it's an obstacle in some way. Yeah. So whereas if they can readily drink when the body just calls for it and goes to a tap and go for it, that's much easier and it helps them to have better health and don't drink so much juice and other stuff.
Yeah.
So so that would be something really good also because we actually absorb chlorine through our skin when we shower or bathe. Therefore, again, it's a no-brainer actually to have really nice water for that purpose.
Yeah.
But because
showering apparently is nicer as well, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean, I'm on stream, so
it's like spring water then.
Yeah.
Then we have got a really nice.
Ionza
has that a really beautiful and effective whole house filter. The Life Spring Plus. So it's lots of people rave about it.
Yeah.
So with regards to the drinking water side, we can do even a bit better in town and city water. Well, we can take the fluoride out for a start because Ionza has got this amazing fluoride filter. And then also we've got the ultra filter to actually take the microplastics out. That's right.
Yeah. And even living bacteria, that's sometimes an issue in town supply that I've seen on the news lately. Like it's good to safeguard yourself against that.
Yeah. So yeah, and then sometimes there are issues in town supplies with heavy metals. And so again, the Active Pure X that Ionza has is a fantastic filter to also take care of that. So I quite often, while I was still running Ionza, I actually, my favorite was when we didn't go into ionization, but wanted to have some form of alkalizing, ionizing with a mineral filter, which is the Alka Spring, and mostly focus on the filtration. Then I just offered them the Life Spring Plus as a whole house filter, and the either the Alka City Total or the Alka Fluoride Free. So either these two combinations, they just went through the door all the time.
Yeah, the Alka Fluoride Free, especially when it's teamed up with the whole house filter. And then you're only filtering, you're doing like a really quality job on filtration for your drinking water, but not spending all that money on remineralizing and taking the fluoride of your whole house. So you're kind of just spending money on what you need. What system should I get if I've got town water with fluoride in it? So did you want to speak to that?
Well, I think it's worth, at the moment, as we already touched on, we've got a filter called the Fluorex Max as the key component to get fluoride out, right? And that usually goes tandem with the Active Pure Extra, which becomes a pre-filter for it to protect that the Fluorex Max doesn't become the main filter and therefore it actually loses its capacity very quickly to remove the actual fluoride. Because then it would take care of all sorts of other filtration, which it can, but by that the capacity gets lost on that.
And I think that's pretty generic. Usually from what I can see in my research, the fluoride filter is always buddied up with the carbon filter first. So then the fluoride acts independently on the fluoride.
And focus on that job. However, more and more, when I started with Ionza and even 3-4 years ago, there was actually no easygoing reverse osmosis system that didn't waste a lot of water, that didn't have a tank, that didn't have a pump. It was just not available. And we went down that road to offer reverse osmosis systems with tank, but I found them a pain in the butt.
And you have to clean them, is that right?
You have to sterilize them every 2 years. Otherwise, you are going to run into a whole nother drama, which you might not even notice, that you actually introduce a mold into your water.
Right, which
it's crazy.
Is terrible.
It's crazy. So really, also to have an RO system, what I found, you need a really good technician who knows what to do, how to actually tune it. It needs to be tuned so it works well. And when that doesn't happen, it is a pain to work with. And then it takes ages for the water to be made. It doesn't make the specs of making so many liters per day. And that's something that you viewers and clients who listen to this now need to be aware of. The old style reverse osmosis systems with a tank limit you to maybe 12 liters per day.
Wow.
Which is not such a lot of water to use, particularly when you get guests suddenly and have to produce more water for cooking and drinking and so on. So just something to be mindful. Whereas now, and that's the game changer, now we actually can get reverse osmosis systems that have no pump and particularly no tank. And they actually waste less water than they used to do. So then it becomes interesting to also consider that for our city water tank where we have got fluoride in there.
And a lot of ionizers do well with that kind of filtration before that they go into the system, because the cleaner the water is, the longer the systems will work, obviously. And so for a system that we've got for town supply that's really popular is our Alka City Total. And that one's got 3 filters and then one mineral cartridge. And so you've got your sediment, you've got your active pure, sediment? Active Pure Extra, ultra filter, your fluoride filter, and then minerals.
The Alka Spring.
The Alka Spring. And so in that system, as a starting point, you're getting everything that you need to have really good quality water. And then often if people want more, then you can have those as a pre-filter to an ionizer or a hydrogen machine. So that's just an idea for someone with town supply with fluoride in it.
Well, let's go into bore for a moment.
Yeah.
Which not everybody has got a bore, of course. It's in the agricultural area. It's usually very common. So, as we said before, it's really good to do a test first, because there's no point fishing around in the dark sort of thing. I mean, yes, you could do a generic thing and it would take care probably of it, but sometimes we do have some really severe issues, and what's the point of not addressing them when actually there is one, but also what's the point of going overboard with a massive RO system when actually there's no need to, because the water is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really what we advise. Let's see a test first and then take it from there.
Yeah. And then
but what could happen is, like with a bore, we alluded to that before, if we do have some serious contamination, even towards having some toxic substance in there, even sometimes like copper, sometimes there's so much copper in there that's not good for somebody's health. And also copper is in general a good thing in small portions, but actually here, for example, with that specific water supply, it's not, then therefore we have to be mindful of that. So in these situations, it's actually good to go for an RO system, a reverse osmosis system.
Yeah.
Whereas in other, when the water is actually overall really good, it might only need maybe either UV system or our ultrafilter to take care of the bacterial contamination.
Yeah.
So there are different ways dealing with that. Ionza can do it all.
Yeah, cool. And so what about stream, creek type water?
Yeah, I mean, mostly with that, again, it pays to know whether how big the influx is of either sediment or agricultural runoff contamination.
Yeah.
It might be, I think, with streams, I would also go for a test.
Yeah.
It's too dodgy otherwise to just fish in the dark.
Yeah, and so you're definitely going to be going with an ultrafilter, I think, in a sediment for sure, by the sounds of things, and then testing to see what additional filters you might need.
Yeah, or not.
Or not, yeah, exactly.
So a test is not that expensive.
No, yeah.
So it's actually money well spent at the beginning, and having certainty is usually also peace of mind, which is also worth something.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of tank water, what filtration would you advise?
So tank water, we actually don't necessarily have to test unless we think we've got a massive influx through a really difficult situation. Let's say we've got a tree over the roof and we don't want to cut that down because we love it, you know. And the trade-off of that is we're going to have leaves and lots of them in the catchment, and that will be bird poo as well, and in the rural areas it might be even possum poo. And when it comes to all of that, you definitely need really good filtration. So, for example, I would definitely go for a really good sediment whole house filter system, a UV system, and then would still have, as a drinking water filter system, I would still have the ultrafilter.
Yep.
With a pre-filter, the active pure extra, also take care of any heavy metals, etc., because it's possible.
Yeah.
And there might be also a case of when the water gets collected in a plastic tank to also remineralize the water.
Bring up that pH.
Yeah, bring up the pH and get some extra minerals in there. Sometimes people say cheeky, say, I don't need any minerals. I've got all that muck in the in the leaves in the catchment. Well, there's a little bit of a truth to that you will get something into the water, but whether that's also good and enough with minerals is a big question mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And those mineral cartridges are just so easy to add on and to.
And besides that, usually muck as in compost usually makes it more acidic rather than bringing it into the alkaline.
So that's rainwater.
Yeah, that's rainwater.
All right, what are the main differences, because we get this question a lot, between UV and RO?
It's a massive difference.
Yeah.
It's actually totally like chalk and cheese, if you know that expression. So UV is really imagine it's UV light. So it's like a light bulb, like a tube, where the water runs through and the light itself, the UV light, is zapping the bugs.
Zapping, yeah. So it's
zapping it. So basically by that they become
Yeah.
disabled.
Dead.
They can't do their thing that they normally would do to
Yeah.
infiltrate sort of thing into the water, into the body.
Yeah, and so it likely goes through a sediment filter and a carbon filter first. Sediment taking out the debris, and then the carbon filter taking out the chemicals and the heavy metals. So ideally, you'd have a very clear water without any particles.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. And so then this is kind of pure water, you might say, just with dead living organisms.
Yeah, I could say so. Yeah. Whereas reverse osmosis is a system that is like going through very fine mesh, where it's like 0.0001 micron.
Right.
It's so small that we can't see that at all, of course, and there's no even sediment and minerals get stuck in there. That's unfortunately the trade-off to get rid of severe contamination. But it's not so difficult to add minerals at the end, remineralize the water.
Yeah.
And for that, it's worth doing it. The other trade-off is the reverse osmosis system actually uses a lot of water. So we get about 1/4 of water to 3/4 of the water being wasted.
Yeah.
It can be collected, that wastewater.
To 3/4?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's huge.
Depends on the machine, I guess.
It depends also a bit on the type of reverse osmosis.
Yeah.
Some of the best now modern reverse osmosis system makes it to about half-half. It is a major improvement, but still it's quite a lot of water.
Yeah.
So when we talk about tank water, for example, let's say we would have major contamination in tank water. This is a real difficult act to actually then use an RO for tank water because we use so much water. It can be done if we collect the wastewater and use the wastewater for certain applications in the house, which like toilet, for example, or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But of course, that all needs to be plumbed separately.
Yeah.
But generally, I would not use an RO for tank water for that reason.
Yeah. And so what would you, I mean, are you suggesting that UV would be good for someone who is on rural supply with living bacteria as more of an issue? And RO is more of a solution for if you've got high chemical contamination or, just high contamination in general and don't have an issue with water supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In general terms, that's right, yeah.
All right. Okay, so now we get to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, and I know that you are. It's the second step. It's what makes Ionza different to a normal filtration company. It's about, for want of a better word, how we bring the water back to life. So we might have safe water, but we want to have a health elixir. You know, we want to have a substance which is back to its original state as possible, or is serving our hydration as best as possible. And so let's talk about different ways that we can do that. In fact, if you can speak to the different options we've got available in terms of the hydrogen and the ionizers and the minerals, if you can give us a bit of an overview about that.
So it's interesting what you said at the beginning. How can we bring water back to life? So let's say we've got bottled water. Yes, it's hydrating, yeah? Anytime I go to the supermarket and I'm urgent about getting water because I have forgot my water bottle, whatever, yes, I can hydrate myself with that. How well hydrating is another issue, yeah? But to bring back something to life like the water, there's a lot more to be had. And one thing that instantly comes to mind is electrons in the water. And people who listen to that now might say, huh?
Yeah.
What's that? Well, I've never heard about that.
Tap out, so it's
But interesting enough, I just look out to this beautiful banana plant out there, which the listeners or viewers can't see there right now, but there is one out there. And I see the sun just at the moment illuminating it. And what's happening right now, it's photosynthesis. And in that process, there are electrons produced in the vines of the plant that are alivening and producing movement in the water flow in the plant.
So it's like the electrical current. I spoke to a friend and it was as though we felt as though the water may be our conduit, may be like our electrical wiring system in our body. When you think of it like it having a charge, and it does, it's like the negative and the positive. So this is
That's right.
quite cool. Yeah.
So really, when and that goes now also, what is in the body that actually produces our water?
Yeah.
It's our blood,
Yeah.
right? And so when we now look into what actually constitutes blood, in the blood has got blood cells. When they are electrically charged as they are supposed to be, and when we look into a serum of blood, we actually see the blood cells swirling freely like ping pong balls in a liquid. And when we get too inflamed in the body, when our blood has inflammation going on, what do the blood cells do? They stick together. They lost their electrical charge. And therefore, as a result, the blood becomes heavy, liquid, sluggish, and it doesn't actually, it's harder to pump through the blood.
Right.
Therefore, we are more tired. We lost energy. And that goes together with electrons. But as soon as people, I mean, I'm sure the viewers and listeners, they've heard that plenty of times from their nutritionist. Eat greens. How come? Because greens have got fresh electrons there. They only last a few days, and then the plant wilts and it's over.
Yeah, I often think of water being like a vegetable in that respect. If you put water into a bucket over a long period of time of stagnation,
yes,
it loses its charge. Is
exactly.
that right?
It's life. We're coming back to what you said earlier, life. And so to enlivening water, if it hasn't been already, if it's not already alive because we actually source it from a spring. Where it's really bubbling through rocks and there's lots of movement, then we actually need to enliven again. And so introducing electrons is one of the really important things to make water alive again.
Yeah, amazing. What about hydrogen?
So you just ask, what about hydrogen? Now, one of the things that scientists found out when they looked at the heating springs in the world, they really wanted to know what's going on here, that these villagers are in such good health and go to 100 easy, whereas others in other villages that's not happening like that.
Blue zones, is that what it's called?
Well, that's blue zones as well, but it's just that there are healing springs in the world that produce that effect. And one of the things that really was outstanding clear in their research and testing is hydrogen in there. So it's free molecular hydrogen. And because you could say, well, hydrogen, H2O, of course there's hydrogen in water. It's made up of that, but it's about the free molecular hydrogen that's available to the body when you drink that makes a difference. And why? Because the free molecular hydrogen is a very powerful antioxidant. In the element scale, somebody, in theory, all done chemistry and biology in school there, and so we came across the element scale where hydrogen is number 1. Yeah, it's the so it's the smallest atom or molecule that is actually on the planet. And not surprising, molecular hydrogen is the only, because it's the smallest atom or molecule, atom/molecule enabled to go through cells really fast. So here also through body cells. But that is super powerful as an antioxidant.
And so what would one expect to have in terms of hydrogen content in their tap water at home, in their town supply?
Well, we tested it plenty of times. There's no free molecular hydrogen in normal tap water. There's none.
Do you, just bottled water? Do you know?
No, it's none. None.
Yeah, and so if we put hydrogen in the water, how long does it last?
It lasts, well, it's a bit like with ionized water in total, also with the electrons in the water. It's similar. We basically have got fresh, in the moment that we make it fresh, we've got a very good charge in there. Like with our hydrogen water ionizer machines, we get maybe 1,200 parts per billion.
Which is heaps.
That's a lot, And a few hours later, when the water lets even be moved, like let's say we put that into a bottle and we're going on a ride to town, whatever, for half an hour or whatever long it takes, then there is probably only about 20% left.
Right, so
after
it's really
3-4 hours. So it's very simple. We drink this water fresh several times a day. That's why we talked a little bit earlier today about bottling water. And I said, well, I've had this idea for many years to bottle water, but every time I cross this
You get to
I always go back to, now I don't want to do that because I want to offer the people the best water.
Yeah.
Make the water fresh and re-enlivening with those devices, with those machines.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's exciting. And so what about the pH? I think we should touch on the pH because, I mean, I listened recently to science and it was interesting because it made me realise that, yes, there's proof in the people's response to this water that higher pH is good for you, but it seems like the science as to proving why keeps changing.
Yeah, or why it can't be working.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's plenty of, on the internet, say, it's not possible to change the pH in the body because as soon as you drink something alkaline in the body, then the hydrochloric acid is going to eliminate it and gone.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's lots of different reasons, but I guess at the end of the day, you know, the last one was, I think, 10 years ago, and science is always improving. So about 10 years ago, they realised, I mean, you'd know this, but there's two different ways that the cells absorb water. And one of them that they had just discovered was called the aquaporine vessels or something, whatever. And at the end, they discovered that higher pH water travels through there much faster. In fact, it might have to be, I can't remember, but it was like a justification as to why higher pH water was good for you. And it was like, it's not so much what we thought it was, it's now this. But I mean, you've dealt with hundreds of clients and thousands of clients, and at the end of the day, if you raise your pH, it's healthier long term. And some people actually get physical symptoms that prove to them that the higher pH is helping them.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things, when you go into any issue around health, on the internet you find a whole bunch of them totally disputing what the other bunch of scientists, and they're all scientists, they all think they know the truth of everything, but they just fight with each other about the truth. So if you have to listen to them more, then you believe that, and if you listen to them more, you believe that. So what can you do? So for me, at the end, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
That means when I actually, and that's not a placebo anymore, when we give people something that actually does offer some quality as in substance, like here alkaline minerals, and they drink this alkaline water for let's say 2-3 months, and they then recover from arthritis. Do you really think it was placebo?
Yeah.
It's very questionable.
Yeah. And it goes hand in hand though, doesn't it? So if you're increasing the hydrogen and adding electrons, does that naturally increase the pH as well?
When you add hydrogen or what?
Add hydrogen or ionize the water.
No, it doesn't. The hydrogen ionizer method does not increase the pH.
Right, but the ionization.
The alkaline water ionizer method, where it splits the water into acid alkaline through electrolysis, that does increase the pH depending on what we choose.
Yeah, so if we're going hydrogen, then you should really add a mineral cartridge, or just make sure that you've got higher pH water. Well,
I've done that in my home because I've always believed in the alkaline water ionizer machines for many years, and but at some stage I wanted to try out what the hydrogen water ionizers can do, but I didn't want to miss out on the alkaline side. So what I did is I put our alkaline cartridge into the mix. By that I get higher alkaline water as well.
In fact, I think that's one of the best combos is our Hydrogen Max machine, along with whatever filtration you might need and an Alka spring.
That's right, exactly. That's what I've done.
The bomb diggity.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So
there's one more comment I want to make about alkaline and improving the pH in the body. When I look at people's health, and because ever since I've been 16, I've been interested in health. And over the years, particularly also with running Ionza, I've been very at experts. Probably would be embarrassing if people know that I study them and I talk to them. Their face, their complexion and so on. So I look at people's complexion and the face, what kind of healthy skin they have or not, and so on. And you can just see when people are too acidic. And they struggle with it. So I think it's really important to be mindful about acidity and alkalinity in the body. And when we take supplements, and that's the thing I want to say, when we go to a nutritionist, they invariably support us by also prescribing supplements, yeah, including magnesium. It's a big one. A lot of people are deficient in magnesium.
Yeah.
So what is magnesium then? We just, together with a glass of water, take a magnesium tablet. Well, how come that apparently is okay and does something good for us for the pH, and then
Right.
alkaline water doesn't?
It's the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of science is suggesting to add that magnesium to your water.
Yeah.
There's like pills that you can get. It's the same thing as
Yeah,
what our
exactly.
offspring is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason why we've actually got quite a big range is to meet the different needs of the different people. You do pay for what you get in regards to like the control over the pH levels, the range of the pH, the amount of hydrogen. However, you can start off with a portable device, like a portable hydrogen bottle or a hydrogen water jug or an Alka jug, and they're really good products that allow you to have healthy water on the go. So you don't need to plug them into anything. You can just fill them up and you can take them traveling. They're fantastic solutions. They're not filtration though. So if you are looking to use those types of products that help bring your water back to life, they might offer a little bit of filtration, but if you're trying to get rid of things like fluoride and heavy metal contamination, then we highly recommend that you look into some of our pre-filtration solutions, and we're here to help along the way. So if it becomes too daunting, just give us a call or an email and we can help you with that. So that's our portable solutions, and then we've got, if you are renting, you want something that's a little bit easier, you don't want to have to keep refilling it, then we do have some solutions that connect into your kitchen faucet. And so you don't need a plumber, you can do it yourself, and you can have a constant flow of potentially hydrogen-rich water with our hydrogen MIDI or our little EHM Vita Ionizer, where you've got control of over the pH. And so a lot of people use different levels of pH for different things. I know that I've spoken to a few clients who just marvel about the effect that the acidic water has on their plants.
Yes.
And we have some products that supply ozone water, which is good for cleaning.
That's right.
And then really high pH, some people use it for some medicinal reasons, not for drinking. But yeah, there's a variety, and I think having a machine that allows you to use water for so many different things is quite powerful. So we've got those in terms of the portable, and then we do have some built-in solutions which are really good technology. So you're getting the Hydrogen Max, which produces really high hydrogen-rich water, and that would fit underneath your kitchen bench and would have an electronic faucet that comes out the top. And we've also got some bench top and under bench solutions for our ionizers, and so you can have a look at all of those online on our website, and it's more or less going and checking what's going to fit in your kitchen in terms of aesthetics and size. So it's all there for you, and matching those up with the right filtration, and you'll be good to go. Should I get an ionizer or should I get a hydrogen machine?
An alkaline water ionizer or a hydrogen machine?
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that's probably something you sort out by doing a bit of research what the pros and cons are of each, and go with your feeling where you tend to go towards. I start with a water ionizer machine, an alkaline machine, and I still would go anytime with that again, because it does give me quite a high level of hydrogen as well.
Yeah.
It's not as good as like 600 parts per billion is pretty good. It's not as good as the as a hydrogen machine with 1200. But really you also need to understand that the alkalinity has got a lot to offer, and it really comes down to you drinking regular and plenty good of fresh water from the machine. And when you do that, you accumulate the hydrogen in your cells, and they store something I haven't mentioned here yet, but hydrogen is actually longer lasting than vitamin C in the cells.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Cool.
And therefore it actually becomes a, what do you call that? It's a preventative measure, as in it lasts for quite a few days.
Yeah.
And if you drink enough of that water with the hydrogen, you basically store hydrogen, and it helps you to have a really good defense.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people don't realize is our ionizers produce the hydrogen as well.
That's right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and so they're not called hydrogen machines because they are different in the way that they work, but both of them are producing hydrogen. And I think last time I checked, it was most of the scientific studies are based on hydrogen-rich water was like 500 parts per billion or million. No,
Billion.
Billion, thank you. Which is what our machines are offering. Yeah.
There's one other thing. Like personally, in my home, I'm on tank water. Now, the interesting thing here is whether I go for an alkaline water ionizer or a hydrogen machine.
Yeah.
The alkaline water ionizer machine splits the water, and we get about a third acidic water and 2/3 alkaline water. So in strict terms, when we are slack about using the acidic drying water, it's actually wastewater and goes down the drain, which of course for people who are conservative about their tank water, which we mostly are, it's an argument towards maybe going for a hydrogen machine with an alkaline remineralizer, the alka spring attached to it, because then we get the best out of both worlds again. But the hydrogen machine doesn't have that wastewater. There's very little wastewater.
Very little.
It's good to also bear that in mind.
So, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I just want to say is usually what I really enjoyed doing is actually talking to you, the client at the time. I really welcomed that I get phone calls and get hear about your needs and then understand your water supply, and together with your needs and where you want to go with it and what the water's problems are, we put together something that's just really appropriate and good and also cost effective. So yes, it's because we got a lot of do-it-yourself attitude these days, and go for it. If you find that's what you want to do, to just work it out yourself, go for it. But always remember that it's actually really good to get the experts into the field. It doesn't cost you anything. You only get the best possible service then. And so therefore I encourage you, call Ionza and talk to them.
Yeah, we've got a team there ready and waiting and looking forward to your call.